What's up? What's up? Welcome to Blaze Street Productions again. I really appreciate you. I'm your man DJ CeeJaay here with another video right now. What's up? What's up? Aloha. What's going on, everybody? It's 2019 and I ain't been jumping on no videos in a long time, but I'm back and I'm really glad to be here. Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. I appreciate everyone who was asking about me in my absence, but I just kind of fell off in 2018, kind of got distracted and lost track. But here I am, I'm back. I'm still gonna be doing great things on the channel. We're gonna be dropping some new content, trying to show you Hawaii from a different perspective, and also talking about music, because that's what I do. I love it, and I love talking about it. And that's what we're gonna be doing right here on Blaze Street Productions. So please sit back and relax and get ready for the next episode in the 50th greatest records of my lifetime, right here on Blaze Street Productions YouTube. Check it out. Okay, so back in 2017, I began a series which I entitled 50th greatest records of my lifetime. And basically what it was is just, music has been a part of my life all my life. My father was a musician. I talked about his group and his contribution, his greatest contribution to music in episode number 50, which was the first episode on the channel, which I talked about his group, the Eliminators, and what they did. And looking back on my life, it's just realized it's like, wow, I've had a pretty good life. I've been blessed. And all through my life, there's been certain times and milestones when music has been really a part of me. It just kind of helped make me and help me grow. So I just thought about doing something about the 50th greatest records of my lifetime and compiled a list. And this is part of what I'm doing. So you right here right now on episode number 47. So I'm going to start out the episode by saying pretty much basically, who do you think the greatest R&B singer is of all time? And as you think about it, I want you to consider a lot. There's a great period of time when we could go back to, and there's a lot of millennials that may be watching right now. They may not even know, they may not even have a clue, but hopefully a lot of my old school folk is out there is watching the video. You guys will know. So we talking about, Sam Cooke and people like Donny Hathaway, even Lionel Richie, Luther Vandross, Jackie Wilson, Stevie Wonder, all of the great vocalists that we've had in the R&B and soul genre. But particularly on this episode right now, I'm going to talk about one individual, and his name is Marvin Gaye. And we're going to talk about Marvin Gaye, what's going on, and how that LP contributed to popular music, to R&B and soul music. So before I get into what Mr. Gaye did, let's just go back real quickly to some past recent months about someone who was trying to say a young man by the name of R. Kelly was possibly the greatest R&B singer of all time. And I just want to just drop it in on you right now and just tell you that he ain't even close, not even close at all. So when R. Kelly first got started, he was on a show called Star Search back in the day when there was R. Kelly Public Announcement, and he was obviously a star of it. So we're talking about in the early 90s, and look at him now. But his body of work is pretty good. However, his body of work and his contribution to the genre is just really way off, because now you have him embroiled in a lot of controversy. So I just wanted to drop that tidbit in here right now, from my perspective, and just tell you that there is no way that we should even consider R. Kelly to be one of the greatest R&B singers of all time, because he's not even really close. Look at some of the things he's done, not only in his personal life, sure, innocent to proven guilty, right, maybe, I don't know, who gives a shit. But what I'm just trying to say is that me right here on my channel, I'm telling you, he ain't close. Usher, maybe, R. Kelly, no. Okay, let's just get back to the video right now. Okay, Marvin Gaye, what's going on? The whole framework of what's going on began in 1969. Now, what happened in 1969 was that Obie Benson, who was a member of the Four Tops, God bless the Four Tops, one of the greatest groups of all time, R&B groups of all time, was traveling, I believe, in Berkeley, California in 1969. Of course, that's during the Vietnam War. A lot of protests going on, a lot of things going on. And Mr. Benson saw some things happen. It might have been some police brutality against some young people. And it just affected him, emotionally. And he began to say things, like, what's going on, what's happening. And then it just so happens that Al Cleveland, who was a songwriter under the Motown label at that time, was around Obie Benson. And as Obie was talking about how he was feeling, Al Cleveland was like, yeah, man, that's some serious things you're talking about, what's going on. So Al Cleveland began to frame some lyrics or some soundings that was in his mind about what's going on, about what's happening. And so fast forward a little bit, we know that Marvin Gaye was on the Motown label under the Tamla imprint, and Marvin Gaye had already made his mark in Tamla and Motown with the late great Miss Tammy Terrell, who was pretty much, they were musical soulmates. They made a lot of great records, Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, and just so many great records and stuff together. And it's unfortunate that Miss Terrell had passed away shortly before Marvin Gaye began his work on What's Going On, which fast forward a little bit from 69 to 70, Benson, Cleveland, and Gaye got together. They started talking about, hey, what do you feel about this song? And so Al Cleveland pretty much told Marvin Gaye, hey, we think that, you can pretty much do this song. It wasn't called What's Going On at the time, but it was the concept of that. And Marvin Gaye had a lot of things going on in his life at that time. He was, like I said, he was dealing with the death of Miss Tammy Terrell. He was also dealing with things that was going on in Vietnam, because his brother Frankie was writing him letters telling him how Vietnam was impacting his life greatly, and how he just felt like, there was just, the United States was involved in something that was probably not good for us at the time. And of course, as Black Americans, we were very much affected by Vietnam, so a lot of Americans were, but I say Black Americans because, there were just a lot of things happening with Black Americans. For example, Muhammad Ali, who didn't want to fight in Vietnam, and everybody knows what happened with that. So a lot of things going on. So just fast forward a little bit, Marvin Gaye decided he wanted to do something with the What's Going On. He was like, let me work with it a little bit. So he asked Mr. Cleveland if he could get some songwriting credit, and he did. So what happened from that was Marvin Gaye kind of took different pieces of what he was thinking and what he was feeling at the time, and he kind of put it together, and it became so much of a amalgamation, a concept. And so the concept album was created at Motown, the very first one. And Gaye took it to Berry Gordy as things started getting firm for What's Going On. Berry Gordy didn't like it because Berry Gordy was talking about making hits, and Motown made hits at that time. However, Gaye was not really a hit maker with Motown per se. So not only did Gaye start creating the strong framework of What's Going On, but what was called the Funk Brothers, the band, the house band that was at Motown at the time, that was playing all the music of the hits, they got credit on the album as being the rhythm section for the album. So What's Going On was recorded late 1970, coming to 1971, through the early spring of 1971. It was released in the early summer 1971. What's Going On kind of changed the landscape of what was R&B music at the time, and also in what was pop music, because it gained a great pop crossover because the song spoke to a lot of different people. It spoke to a lot of different people's emotions about Vietnam, what was happening at that time, women's rights. It just kind of said, hey, what's going on with a lot of things that was happening in the world. And it became somewhat of an anthem per se about what was happening in America. And it just transcended from there. And over time, it's built up as one of the great recordings in pop music, in the top 10 list, and some notable respected publications such as Rolling Stone and Spin Magazine. I think every person at the turn of the century listed, you know, when we came in from 99 to 2000, you know, what's your greatest of this and that. And what's going on was listed on a lot of people's greatest of all times list. It's definitely on mine. It's on my top 50 because at that particular time I was 9 or 10 years old, and at that music was becoming a real important fabric of my life at the time, and that's why it's on my list, because at that particular time, growing up as a young black man in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, you know, even though I was a kid, there was just things happening around me. I was just starting to become more aware of things happening around me, about how the Black Panthers had their house over on Patterson Avenue. It was a blue house, and when we would go by there, you know, my parents would tell me, you know, what it was, because I would say, hey, what's that blue house right there? I had no idea what the Black Panthers were at that particular time, but I began to learn and learn more about them, and also the Nation of Islam, the Muslims that were there in my hometown, who was selling bean pies at the corner of Northwest Boulevard and Patterson Avenue down there, and just putting out the newspapers down and stuff like that. You know, as a young kid, seeing that, you know, I was asking a lot of questions about what was happening, you know, in my life and in my neighborhood. And my father was always very open, you know, about what was happening. My father was the first one that told me about Malcolm X, who Malcolm X was, you know, and he was the first one that told me about reading about and learning about things about black culture and learning about, you know, us as black people. He encouraged me to learn and read. So getting back to what's going on, definitely was a hit for Motown. Did a lot better than Barry Gordy expected. So number 47 on my list of 50th greatest records and albums of my lifetime is that What's Going On is come with me all through my years in the military. When I joined in 1980, you know, I took the original LP that I got as a kid with me, but I lost it somewhere along the way. I may have let somebody borrow it, but you know, if you're in the military, if you're in the military, you know what I'm talking about, when guys just come to the door room like, hey man, let me borrow that record, I'll bring it right back. And they just never brought the damn record back. You know, so you know, that's just things that happen. So I ended up buying the CD and always kept it in my collection. So to me, this is one of the recordings that helped define my life, because it helped me as a young black kid learn some things about, you know, what was happening in the world. And, you know, I didn't understand everything, but when my cousin used to play this record, you know, when she played the record and we was running around as kids, you know, we used to listen to it and stuff. So the words, what's going on, what just always transcended through the house, you know, about 10 to 15 kids running around. So, you know, I just want to share that with you guys, just to let you know that music, you know, is just a part of our life. It's a part of the fabric of who we are. And there's just some things about music that just stay with us. It's always there. It's never going to go anywhere. And if you can interpret and express for yourself how the music gets to you, then you will be able to understand and understand where I'm coming from about how certain things stick with you. So I'll have a lot more going on with what I want to share with you about my musical journey. So stay tuned to the channel. Please like, comment, subscribe, good or bad, you know, whatever your comments are, whatever, you know, because I'm an old school kind of guy. You know, a lot of young cats ain't understand what the hell I'm talking about, but basically I'm just trying to let you know that music is great and it's just transcends. So I'll be doing I'll be doing tech reviews, sharing a lot of things about my life here in Hawaii, the beautiful paradise that I live in, about my history, about where I'm from in Winston-Salem, NC, Carolina forever. You know what I mean? Carolina forever, you know, Wade Forward, Winston-Salem State University, always representing over here. So appreciate you guys hanging out with me for this episode right here. Stay tuned for the next one. In the meantime, God bless you. May your higher power always keep you. Peace.